So there's an old guy still lingering around in the heavyweight division, and that guy that's lingering around is Tony Thompson. And it's funny because on my other YouTube channel, Mr. Boxing Today, I was talking about, some of the American heavyweights, some of the prospects like a Gerald Washington, Dominic Brazil, Charles Martin. And, I'm talking about those guys fighting each other and separating themselves. And, even if they're promoters and, I know a lot of these guys are with Al Heyman as their advisor. If he doesn't want to match them early, want to protect their O, that's fine. But they're going to have to be tested sooner or later. And Tony Thompson is a guy that can give people a test. And not only give you a test, he can win those fights. He's 43 years old. He's a big guy, 6'5", has a long reach. We know he lost to Vladimir twice. But guys like David Price, when he was coming up, he got upended by a guy like Tony Thompson. They thought it was a fluke. They had him get in there again. He got TKO'd again. Kubrat Pulev is another guy that got a shot at Klitschko, but he was a guy that tested his ability against Tony Thompson. Solis, when he tried to come back, he tested his ability against Tony Thompson twice and he lost. Carlos Takam's another guy that tested his ability. So, and all these guys, are from overseas, man. As an American heavyweight boxer fan, all these guys are from overseas. It's like those contenders and prospects, or contenders and prospects where, they didn't seem nervous about testing their skill and seeing where they're at in their career. A lot of these guys, they want to keep taking on the Joey Abels of the world, and the journeyman type guys. They want to get a list full of those guys and beat up on those guys. That's not going to help you in the long run, especially nowadays when guys are getting, I won't say nowadays, but just through time, there's been guys that get heavyweight title shots in their 13th, 14th, 15th fight. Look at a guy like Leon Spinks at cruiserweight. Look at a guy like Evander Holyfield. So over time, there's been guys that get title shots before their 20th fight. Bryant Jennings was another guy. Was he 19-0 when he fought Klitschko? So a lot of these guys, they're late starters. Some of the American heavyweights, former football players. A lot of them come from that former football playing days. So they're late starters, but they're grown-ass men. They got that grown men strength, is what I like to call it. Ali Harrison was another guy, not from the USA, but he was another guy that had grown man strength going into the Olympics, going into amateur boxing. And it happens over time. But Dominic Brazil, Gerald Washington, Martin, kind of late bloomers, but these are guys that I want to see in there with the Tony Thompson. If we can't get those guys to fight each other, I really want to see Thompson get a crack at one of these young guys and see what happens in that fight. And if one of those guys can beat Tony Thompson, to me, in my opinion, at the heavyweight division, they're going to create some separation from each other. Now, some of you, may look at it from the outside and just say, well, shit, Thompson's 43 years old. But if you look at his resume and you watch his fights, he still can fight, man. His skill set and the way he fights, it's timeless. Some of you may look at it and call it, the old man style. Long, awkward with a jab, fight you at a distance. He can do that style, man, until his jaw starts to crack or he just doesn't want to fight anymore. Eventually Father Time is undefeated. We'll catch up to him, but I want to see somebody in there get tested by Tony Thompson. He's a guy that nobody really talks about as American heavyweight because we got the new up-and-coming prospects, like I said. But I want to see somebody in there with a Tony Thompson. Give him a shot. Because obviously they thought Price can beat him. And he pretty much showed the world that, Price isn't one of those guys coming up. Ruslan Chagayev is another guy that just got a nice victory. He won some version of a secondary title, or I'm not sure. But if it's not Vladimir Deontay Wilder, all these secondary interim titles and, regular to me, those don't mean anything. Now they are there and they're there for a reason when you look at the rankings. So I'm not saying they don't mean anything. But for me as a fan, I don't go by those. If your name isn't Vladimir Klitschko or Deontay Wilder, you don't have a heavyweight title. That's just the way I look at it. But I like to see Chagayev, if he wants to come back stateside and get a fight, I like to see him over here. But just trying to stay over in Germany or wherever he's fighting at, you're going to have to prove some shit over here, man. Yeah, he won the WBA World Heavyweight title. It was vacant. Okay, but like I said, at the same time, though, we know who the heavyweight champion is, and that's Vladimir Klitschko. So if Chigaev doesn't want to come over here and get in the mix, then his title is going to be worthless. It's not going to mean anything. It'll mean something over in his country and to him, but it's really not going to mean anything. If you're not going to fight a guy like Povetkin and all these other guys, Jennings, and give these other guys a shot. But yeah, I want to see somebody in there with Tony Thompson, man. Kind of forgotten guy, doesn't get talked about much because of his age, and he's just not. He doesn't stand out like a Riddick Bowe or Mike Tyson or Evander Holyfield, any of the heavyweights of the past, Frazier, Foreman, Holyfield, Ali. But I want to see Tony Thompson in there with somebody, man. I think he can I think he can beat these prospects, man. I will give him a solid shot. Now, if you throw him in there with somebody like an Anthony Joshua, who's supposed to fight Dillian White, two other UK guys, prospects, almost contenders that I like, Thompson's real tricky, man. He's a real tricky dude, and I can see him pulling off another upset at the heavyweight division. I'm out.